Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we are going to get into some really fascinating stuff, I think. We're talking all about the world of super AI computers.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a hot topic.
yeah, and especially, I know there are a lot of folks out there that are maybe like prepping for meetings and are like, oh my gosh, I need to know about, Nvidia and what's going on with AMD and Intel and even, Tesla getting in on this whole thing.
Tesla, right.
So we are going to break it all down.
hmm
And we're going to talk about some of those big players, of course. We've got to talk about the Nvidias of the world, and we'll touch on why there's some concern out there about their dominance,
hmm
and then we'll talk about some of the companies that are really kind of disrupting things like Grok. So get ready for some big numbers, surprising partnerships, and we'll even touch on quantum computing a little bit. So let's dive in. I guess to get started, we really got to talk about the foundation of this whole thing, and that is the difference between AI training and inference. And I know this
So I
is,
would
is
say.
something that, yeah, a lot of folks are talking about, but I think sometimes it's good to break it down like I'm five.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So could you kind of explain those two things maybe in a way that anyone could understand?
Yeah, sure. So, when we're talking about AI training, you can think of it kind of like sending an AI to school, right? So if you're teaching a dog a new trick,
Yeah.
you're going to show them how to do it. Give them a reward when they get it right, and correct them when they make a mistake.
hmm
And eventually the dog learns the trick. And so that's a lot like training an AI. You're feeding it massive amounts of data so that it can learn to recognize patterns, make predictions, and all of that. Now, inference, on the other hand, is more like once that dog, has learned that trick, it's when they're actually performing the trick. So it's like taking what they've learned and actually applying it out, out in the real world, right?
Okay, so training's like school, inference is using the knowledge.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
And both of those require like these crazy supercomputers that we're talking about.
That's right. Yeah. Particularly the training process. That really requires the massive amounts of computing power.
Yeah. Like trying to, I don't know, fit all of the Library of Congress into like a little puppy's brain.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a lot of information
That's a lot
to.
to crunch. Yeah. So let's talk about some of these companies that are building these computers, and of course we have to start with the big one,
Mm.
Nvidia.
Right.
So what makes them like such a powerhouse in this space?
Well, Nvidia, they were really early to the game. I think they really recognized the potential of using their graphics processing units or GPUs for AI,
Hmm.
and they developed this platform called CUDA.
Yeah.
That's kind of become the industry standard for AI development.
Got it.
So that's really kind of, what's given them the edge.
But they're not the only ones, are they?
No, absolutely not. No. You've got AMD and Intel. They're also major players in this space.
Hmm.
And they've both got, their own unique strengths.
So like how does AMD stack up against Nvidia?
Well, AMG has been making some really good progress with their Radeon Instinct GPUs and their ROCm software platform.
Hmm.
And they often kind of offer a more cost-effective solution, I think, than NVIDIA in some cases.
Yeah.
So, price is always a factor.
Right, right.
And then you've got Intel. They're kind of coming at it from a slightly different angle. They're really strong in the CPU market, of course,
Yeah.
and they've been making some strategic acquisitions. Like they acquired a company called Habana Labs to
Really?
kind of build out their AI capabilities. So they're definitely a force to be reckoned with as well.
So it's like a three-way race at the top there
Yeah.
between, those giants.
Yeah.
But I've also heard a lot of buzz about, these smaller companies, the kind of the disruptors, the up-and-comers,
Right.
like Grok, for example.
Grok, yeah.
Like,
They're a really interesting company. What they're doing is building these chips that are specifically designed for AI inference.
mhm.
And they're claiming that their chips are incredibly fast, much faster than some of the offerings from the bigger companies.
So they're really kind of like laser focused on that inference side of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Right.
Are there other companies that are kind of making waves, shaking things up a little bit?
Oh yeah, you've got a company called Cerebras.
Okay.
And they've created this massive chip. It's actually a wafer scale chip. It's the biggest chip I think anyone's ever made.
Wow.
And it's It's designed to handle, these incredibly complex AI models. So that's a really interesting approach. And then, of course, you can't talk about AI these days without mentioning Tesla.
Right. They're doing their own AI chip thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They've developed their own AI chip called the D1 chip, and this is custom built for their self-driving system.
Oh, wow.
So they're focused on being able to process, tons of visual data from the cameras and sensors on their cars and do it all in real time
In real time.
so that the car can, make these split-second decisions.
Wow. So it's like they're kind of approaching it from like a very specific use case,
Yeah.
which is like, making their cars safer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very specific application.
Wow, that's fascinating. So it sounds like there's these, established players, these giants like Nvidia, AMD, Intel, but then you've got these up and comers that are really kind of, finding their own niches and shaking things up.
Right. It's a really dynamic market.
Yeah, it's really a crowded field.
Absolutely.
And I imagine it's only going to get more competitive, especially with the amount of money that's being poured into, AI infrastructure. We're talking billions, even hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing massive investments, unheard of investments in this space.
Yeah, like I remember hearing that Microsoft and OpenAI, like they're sinking over $100 billion into this,
That's right. Yeah.
which is just an astronomical sum.
It is. It's more than, double what the world spends on data centers every year.
Wow. So that really kind of shows you like
Yeah.
how seriously everyone's taking this.
It really underscores how important these supercomputers are becoming. They're really the foundation of this whole new technological era that we're moving into.
Okay, so building these super AI computers, I'm guessing it's not exactly like a walk in the park.
No, no.
So what are some of the challenges that these engineers and these companies are facing?
Well, I mean, for starters, just the sheer scale of these systems is mind-boggling. You're talking about connecting, thousands, even tens of thousands of processors together, and they all have to, communicate with each other seamlessly.
Yeah, that sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, it's a huge challenge.
What else? What are some of the other like hurdles that they have to overcome?
Well, power consumption is a major one. These supercomputers, they're incredibly energy hungry. Keeping them running efficiently is a constant battle.
Yeah, I bet the electricity bill for one of those data centers is something else.
Oh yeah, you can say that again. And engineers are constantly having to come up with, new ways to optimize power usage and even looking at alternative energy sources. They're even talking about using nuclear power to meet the demand.
Nuclear power. Wow. Okay, so we're talking like next level stuff here.
It's pretty intense.
Are there any other like big challenges that come to mind?
Well, another big challenge is making sure that these systems can handle the ever-increasing demands of AI models. The size and the complexity of these models, they're just growing exponentially. So scalability is really, really important.
So they need to be able to kind of grow as the demand grows.
Exactly, yeah.
What about reliability? I mean, these things can't just, crash in the middle of training a massive AI model, right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, downtime can be incredibly costly. So building in redundancy, making sure that these systems are resilient, that's paramount. You need to make sure that they can keep running even if, a component fails.
It's fascinating to me how many like layers of complexity there are to all of this. You've got, these powerful chips from all these different companies. You've got this massive infrastructure that's needed to house them. And then you've got this constant need for more power and better reliability. It's a lot.
It is. And we haven't even touched on the software side of things yet. The algorithms, the frameworks that allow these supercomputers to do their magic. I mean, that's a whole nother challenge.
Right. It's a whole ecosystem.
It is. Yeah.
So it sounds like building these super AI computers, it's a monumental task.
It is.
But clearly it's a task worth undertaking.
Absolutely. I mean, these are the machines that are going to power the next wave of AI innovation.
So where do we go from here? I mean, what does the future hold for these supercomputers and for the companies that are building them?
Well, that's a great question. And it's a question that we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive. We'll look at some of the potential risks and rewards, the emergence of new technologies like quantum computing. And we'll talk about what all of this means for the future of AI and ultimately for humanity.
All right, everyone, hang tight. We'll be right back to continue our exploration of the incredible world of super AI computers.
So welcome back. Now that we've kind of laid the groundwork there, let's talk about what all this computing power is actually being used for. What's like the end goal here?
Well, I think a lot of people are talking about AGI these days.
Right, right.
Artificial general intelligence, that idea of a machine that can truly think and learn like a human, solve like any problem.
Right. That can reason, that can potentially even be self-aware.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like science fiction, but it seems like that's where a lot of this is heading.
It does, it does. But, it's a goal that a lot of very serious researchers are working towards.
So how do like these super AI computers that we've been talking about fit into the picture?
Well, to develop AGI, you're going to need to process just absolutely mind-boggling amounts of data, run incredibly complex algorithms. I mean, we're talking about models with trillions, maybe even quadrillions of
So
parameters.
even today's supercomputers aren't powerful enough for that.
Not even close. And that's why you see this constant push to build even bigger, even more powerful machines. It's an arms race to see who can crack the code of AGI first.
And that brings us to another player in this race,
Mhm.
something that's been kind of touted as a potential game changer for AI, and that is quantum computing.
Right, quantum computing.
I'll be honest, it's always seemed a little mysterious to me.
It is, yeah. It's a very complex topic.
Can you kind of demystify it a little bit? Like how does it work and how could it impact AI?
Okay, well, think about it this way. A traditional computer, it uses bits, right?
Mhm.
And you can think of a bit like a light switch. It can either be on or off, 1 or 0. A quantum computer, on the other hand, uses these things called qubits. And a qubit, it's more like a dimmer switch. It can be on, it can be off, or it can be somewhere in between, all at the same time.
Whoa, okay, so that already sounds pretty wild.
It is, yeah. It's leveraging the principles of quantum mechanics.
Okay, so how does that actually help with AI?
Well, this ability to be in multiple states simultaneously, it's called superposition. It allows quantum computers to explore many possibilities at once. So, imagine like being able to read every book in a library at the same time.
That's crazy.
It is, yeah. It's a completely different way of processing information.
Yeah.
And they can also leverage another phenomenon called entanglement. And this is where two qubits become linked and can influence each other instantaneously, even if they're miles apart.
So it sounds like quantum computing could really unlock some capabilities that are just impossible with traditional computers.
That's the hope, yeah. I mean, it has the potential to really revolutionize fields like drug discovery, materials science, and of course, AI. It could lead to the development of AI models that are far more sophisticated than anything we can even imagine today.
So is anyone actually making progress in quantum computing for AI? Or is it all just kind of theoretical at this point?
Oh, no, there are definitely companies making some real headway. Google, for instance, they're heavily invested in quantum computing with their Willow project. They've developed one of the most advanced quantum processors to date.
Wow. So, we've got this race for dominance in traditional super AI computers, and now we're adding quantum computing to the mix. It's hard to wrap your head around all of this.
It is a lot to take in, yeah. But it's all incredibly exciting, and it really speaks to, the incredible pace of innovation in this field.
It does. So, okay, we've talked about, the hardware side of things, but
Mhm.
who are the players like vying for control in this AI-powered future?
Yeah, it's not just about the chips, right?
Right.
There are a lot of different players with different interests here.
Well, I mean, obviously we've talked about, the chip manufacturers, the Nvidias, the AMDs, the Intels of the world. They're the ones providing the hardware that makes all of this possible.
Right, they're laying the foundation, so to speak. But then you have to think about the companies that are actually developing the AI models.
Okay, yeah, so like who are we talking about there?
Well, you've got OpenAI, of course. They're the ones behind those groundbreaking ChatGPT models,
Yeah, ChatGPT, everyone's talking about that.
right? And then there's Google. They're always pushing the boundaries with their Gemini project, and of course, you can't forget about Elon Musk's new venture, XAI.
Oh, right, XAI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty vocal about the potential risks of AI, but he's also, diving headfirst into developing it himself.
Yeah, he's a complex figure, that's for sure. But, he stated that his goal is to develop AI that is pro-humanity. So it remains to be seen how their approach will differ from the others.
Okay, so we've got, OpenAI, Google, XAI, all in the mix. It's getting pretty crowded.
Yeah.
Where does Microsoft fit into all of this? I mean, they're not exactly known for like cutting-edge AI research, are they?
You might be surprised. Microsoft has actually been quietly building up their AI capabilities, especially through their partnership with OpenAI. They've actually developed their own massive AI supercomputer. They're calling it Stargate, which is specifically designed to support OpenAI's work.
Stargate. Okay, that sounds pretty intense. So it's shaping up to be like the battle of the Titans here.
It is, yeah. You've got OpenAI and Microsoft on one side, Google on another, and then xAI entering the fray. And the stakes are incredibly high. I mean, the company that controls the most advanced AI could potentially have a significant advantage in everything, from healthcare to finance to even, defense.
Right. So, we've been focusing a lot on these massive supercomputers that are used for like training AI models. But what about the inference side of things? Earlier we talked about how inference is about, actually using AI in the real world.
Right.
Like, does that require the same kind of like massive hardware?
Not necessarily. I mean, while some inference tasks do require, powerful servers, there's also a growing demand for smaller, more specialized chips.
Yeah.
Chips that can be embedded in devices like smartphones, cars, robots.
So you're talking about like bringing AI to the edge,
Yeah.
closer to where the action is.
Exactly, yeah. And that's where companies like Grok with their, super fast inference chips, they really shine.
Mm.
And then you've got companies like Cerebras who, while they make those massive wafer scale chips for training, they're also developing smaller chips specifically for inference tasks.
And what about Tesla? They're putting their AI chips directly into their cars, right?
They are, yeah. Those Tesla D1 chips are a key part of their self-driving system. They handle the real-time processing of data from the car's cameras and sensors, allowing the car to make decisions on the fly.
It's amazing to think that, the same technology that's being used to train these massive AI models in data centers is also being used to power like self-driving cars.
It is, yeah. It's pretty remarkable how far this technology has come.
Are there other chips, like Tesla's D1 that are kind of designed for those specific applications?
Yeah, absolutely. Nvidia, for example, they've got their Jetson line of chips, and these are specifically designed for AI tasks in, robotics, drones, and other edge devices.
So, we've got these different types of AI chips, the massive ones for training, and then the smaller specialized ones for inference at the edge. It seems like the AI landscape is just becoming more and more diverse.
It is, and with all of this innovation, all of this investment pouring into the field, it's hard to predict exactly what the future holds, but it's definitely going to be exciting.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's incredible to see how quickly things are moving and changing in this field. We've got all these powerful players, these, groundbreaking technologies, and there's still so much uncertainty about what comes next. So I guess the question is, what does all this mean for someone like me or you, the listener? Like, how do we make sense of all of this?
Well, it's true. The pace of innovation can be a little bit overwhelming, but I think the key is to try to focus on the bigger picture here. AI, it's not just about algorithms and chips. It's about the potential to solve some of the world's most challenging problems.
So you're talking about things like, curing diseases, developing sustainable energy sources,
Yeah.
even like exploring the universe in ways we can't even imagine today.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, AI has the potential to revolutionize, virtually every industry and every aspect of our lives. But it's important to remember that, AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right. So it's not just about, developing the most powerful AI. It's also about making sure that it's used responsibly, that it's used
Yeah.
ethically.
Exactly, yeah. We need to be having conversations about the potential risks and benefits of AI, about how to, mitigate bias, how to ensure fairness and transparency, how to prevent, unintended consequences.
Yeah, those are some big questions. So what can we, like as individuals, do to make sure that those conversations are happening, that our voices are heard?
Well, I think first and foremost, stay informed, read articles, listen to podcasts like this one, attend conferences. I mean, there are countless resources available to learn about AI and its implications. And don't be afraid to ask questions, to challenge assumptions, to engage in critical thinking.
So be informed, be critical, be engaged.
Got it. Okay, but what about, the market side of things? We've talked a lot about, the technology and the ethics, but there's also this fierce competition between companies, this race for AI dominance. What are the potential risks and rewards, for the companies that are involved in all of this?
Well, for the companies that succeed, in developing and deploying the most advanced AI, the rewards could be enormous. We're talking about, potentially dominating entire industries, shaping the future of technology itself. But the risks are equally significant.
Okay, so like what kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, for one, there's the risk of falling behind. The pace of innovation is so rapid that if you're not constantly pushing the boundaries, you could quickly become irrelevant. There's also the risk of over-investing in a technology that maybe doesn't live up to the hype, and then of course there are those ethical and reputational risks that we talked about earlier.
So it's a high stakes game.
It is, yeah, both the potential for incredible success and also the possibility of catastrophic failure.
Exactly. And it's a game that's still in its very early stages. I mean, the landscape of AI is constantly shifting. It's impossible to predict with any certainty, who the winners and losers will be.
So, what's your prediction? Where do you see this all heading?
Honestly, it's anyone's guess, but one thing that I'm certain of is that AI is going to continue to evolve at an exponential pace. We're going to see new breakthroughs, we're going to see new applications, we're going to see new challenges. It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, it's a ride that we're all on together,
Hmm.
whether we like it or not. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the nuts and bolts of super AI computers to the mind-boggling potential of AGI and quantum computing. We've explored the exciting and sometimes daunting world of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's a fascinating field, and we've really only scratched the surface. I mean, the field of AI is so vast and it's constantly evolving. And the next few years, I think promise to be incredibly transformative.
So to our listeners, stay curious, stay informed, stay engaged. The future of AI is in our hands.
And who knows? Maybe one of you listening will be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery.
That's right, the possibilities really are limitless. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of super AI computers. Until next time.